Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, Lisaan-ul-Qur'an, Easier Than English, Lesson 11. The focus of this lesson is a very important set of words, part of our golden set which we introduced in the mapping session. Inshallah ta'ala, these words you will find in the Qur'an more than 1,000 times. So almost in every page, you will find one or two of them. These words are called demonstrative pronouns in English. In Arabic, they're part of, or a category of ism, so we can call them demonstrative nouns. These words are used for pointing to something. For example, I say this is a pen and that is a door. So we can point to something close or something far. So we're going to look at the ones that are used most commonly in the Quran, and then we're going to learn something completely new, and that is the demonstrative phrase. How do they form the phrase as opposed to the sentences? And we'll look at some differences between them also. And of course, as we mentioned already in lesson number 6, demonstratives in Arabic are mabni. They are non-declining. So how does the Arab work with non-declining words? We're also going to look at, inshallah ta'ala. So there's a lot to cover in this lesson. And I would like you all to make some notes, because anything that we're going to cover in this lesson, inshallah, is going to be proved to be very helpful to you in your further study of Arabic to understand Quran. So let's begin again with Allah's blessed name. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The demonstratives, Asmaa-ul-Ishaarah. Pointing words are very, very important for our study. Purpose of understanding Quran. If we look at the set number 4, which is a part of our golden set, I've introduced you to this list right at the beginning of the course when we did the mapping of Arabic. This set of words themselves, only this set, appear in the Quran 1049 times. So you can see very, very frequently used set of words in the Quran. So let's begin by our study by first of all looking at some important facts and information about them. First of all, their name or their definition in Arabic. They're called Ismul-Ishaarah. Ismul-Ishaarah literally in Arabic means ism, could be a name or a noun, we could say, of pointing. Ishara means to point. So the singular, they're called Ismul-Ishaarah. And if you take a closer look at the word Ismul-Ishaarati, I hope you can recognize that it is mudaf ilayhi. So it is the noun of pointing or the name of pointing. And then the plural is Asmaa-ul-Ishaarati, literally means nouns or name of pointing. So this is the technical name for them in Arabic grammar books. What is also important to note about them is that they are exactly the same as the English words that we use. This, that, these, and those. And this is how we use them in English. This is a pen, that is a door. Now we know about certain properties of words, and this important note about them is that they're always definite. Again, if you go back to lesson number 2, when we did the 7 categories of definites, this is one of the category. So all pointing words, all Asmaa-ul-Ishaarah, all of them will be definite. The other point about them is that they are mabni. What do we mean by that? Again, we mentioned in lesson number 6, is that they're non-declining. Their endings do not change except for the dual. Duals are always the same in the entire Arabic language. So they will not change their ending. The other important point to note about them is that we have 2 sets, just like we have in English. One's for pointing to near and the other for pointing to far. In Arabic, something near means qareeb and something far away, ba'id. So these are the 2 terms that are used, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be using in the lessons. So one set for pointing near, one set for pointing far. There are also a few more words of pointing. For example, when I say here or there, they're also used for pointing. It's usually to a particular place. The other set I mentioned, of course, are specifically pointing towards something or someone. Now, the 2 sets that we have, the ones we're already familiar with, is hadha, and then we have hadihi. Now, again, these are used for pointing to something close. So if I'm pointing to something masculine, I will say hadha in Arabic. If I'm pointing to something feminine, I will say hadihi. And when I'm pointing to something far, which is masculine, in Arabic, I will say dhalika. But when I'm pointing to something far, which is feminine, I will say tilka. Again, you know which is masculine, which is feminine. Please go back to lesson number 3. So we have different ones for pointing to masculine, pointing to feminine. Inshallah, we're going to look at the full set, but that's an overview of these very special types of words. Again, our course is about Quranic Arabic, so we're going to focus on what's the most common in the Quran. Asmaa-ul-Ishaarati lil-Qareeb. The demonstratives for pointing to something near. To introduce the demonstratives, I put them into the Muslim table. Again, if you remember the Muslim table from right beginning of our course, in the first row we have our singular, then we have a dual, then the plural. And of course, across we have the rafa, nasab, and jar. And then we have our feminine set here. And of course, the masculine set here. By putting these words into the Muslim table, inshallah, most of the information that I want you to know about them will become very, very clear. So let's first look at the word for pointing to something close. In English, this, and that word is hadha. We already know this. But this word hadha in the rafa status will be hadha. In nasab, it will be exactly the same. Hadha. In jar, hadha. So in all three, they will not change. They will be exactly the same. Now, as far as the dual is concerned, we have hadhani, and then we have hadaini and hadaini. As far as pointing to lots of things which are close, we use the plural, which is haulai, and then we have haulai, and then we have haulai. Please note, they do not change their ending. So in the rafa, nasab, and jar, they will be exactly the same. Now, when it comes to pointing to something close, which is feminine, in English we'll use the same word, this. But in Arabic, we have to use a different word, and that is hadihi in the rafa, hadihi in the nasab, and hadihi in the jar. Again, for the dual, we'll have different versions. Hatani for the dual, and hataini and hataini for the duals. As far as the plural is concerned, the good news is it's the same whether it is masculine or feminine. So the plural will be again haulai, haulai, haulai. So these are the words that are used for pointing to something close. The ones we have to focus our attention on are hadha, which is used in the Quran 225 times. Hadihi is used in the Quran 47 times. Haulai, both for the masculine and for the feminine, are used 46 times. The duals are very, very rarely used in the Quran. In the entire Quran, they're only used 3 times. This set, twice, hadani, and the other versions are not used, and we have once hatani is used. So again, you can very easily see from here, the only words that we really need to memorize is hadha, hadihi, and haulai. Only 3. The rest we don't have to memorize. You can just make a note of these, inshallah ta'ala. And if you come across them in your study ever, you can refer back to them. Otherwise, the only 3 words I want you to memorize from this chart is hadha, hadihi, haulai. Before moving on, there's some very important rules related to reading and writing these words. Now, hadha, which you can see listed here, is read ha, the. There's a bit of elongation after ha, which is not normally written in standard Arabic. It is written like so, and unless you know the word, you will read it incorrectly. The correct way of reading it is like so, hadha, but it is written like so. Of course, most Arabic texts will not have any vowel symbols at all. You're expected to know this. And of course, it's very easy to recognize this word because it looks quite unique in its own. So this is hadha, read like so, and of course, written in standard Arabic like so. Then we have the word hadihi. Again, please note there's 2 elongations here, ha, and then the he at the end. And I have put the symbol here, which you'll see in some Quranic script. And this is called in the Indian subcontinent kharazer. Okay, it's like a standing kasra, if you want to call it that. And it's a symbol written below the letter. So again, normal Arabic, you will not see it. It will be written like so. So in the books or wherever you're studying, this is how it will be written. In Quranic scripts, alhamdulillah, it's made very clear so we can read it correctly. And again, symbol without any vowels, it will be written like so. The same with the dual. The ha elongation is not written hadani. Again, it's written like so. Again, without any vowel symbols, it will look like so. The last word, which is read and written with some special rules here, is this one, which is written in most cases like so, like as if you read haulai. But the correct reading is haulai. Okay, this is the correct reading. And again, in Quranic script, it is made very, very clear. I have actually taken a copy from copy from the actual Quran itself, and you can see that's how in the Madinah Mus'haf that this is written. Haulai. And again, very, very clear the elongations that we have to do in the marking. So alhamdulillah, Quranic script is relatively easy for us. Once you learn the rules, we can read correctly without making any major mistakes. So please note this. No matter how you see it written, you must read it correctly. And this is very important. Hadha, hadihi, hadani, haulai. Again, please note these very important points so that you can get it right before you begin to study this topic. Again, a reminder of the set that we use for pointing to thing or things that are near. Again, please note the most important ones that you need to memorize are the single and the plural, and that's it. Asmaa-ul-Ishaarah lil-Ba'id. The demonstratives for far. When I point to something far in English, I say that or those. In Arabic, of course, we have the same, as I've already introduced to them. ذَلِكَ, when I'm pointing to something masculine, it is the same in Rafa, Nasab or Jar. So it's ذَلِكَ when I'm pointing to something far. Now again, there are duals, very rarely used in the Quran. ذَانِكَ, ذَيْنِكَ, ذَيْنِكَ. And of course, the plural is أُولَئِكَ, أُولَئِكَ, أُولَئِكَ. Now, if I'm pointing to something feminine, something which is in Arabic grammar treated as feminine, then instead of saying ذَلِكَ, I will use tilka. Again, tilka, tilka. All three exactly the same. We also have the dual versions, tanika, tainika, tainika. And again, the plural is exactly the same, whether it's masculine or feminine. It is still ulaika, ulaika, ulaika. Few things, inshallah, very important for you to note so that, inshallah, we can make quick progress with Quranic Arabic. The duals, this set is not used in the Quran at all. There's not a single example of these. Of course, you'll find them in other texts, hadith and others, but they're not used in the dual. Second thing, this version is only used once in the Quran. So our focus of study really is here and here. Again, the singular and the plural. Again, please note the numbers of the time they're coming in the Quran, so it will motivate you that these are the words I need to learn and understand. So again, we'll probably need only 3 from this list also. So our focus of attention is on the singular and the plural. Again, totally collectively between this set and the set for pointing to near, 1049 times in the Quran. Very, very important set for us to learn and study. Few important points about reading and writing these. First of all, we have ذَلِكَ. Again, the elongation symbol is not written in standard Arabic. So we have ذَلِكَ. And again, in Quranic script, depends on which print you're reading, there will be some symbol to indicate the elongation very easily for you. And then we have ulaika. Now here you have to note 2 very important points. This waw is not read. It's written but not read. And in the Quranic example, inshallah, you will find a symbol placed above the waw to tell you not to read it. So you read it ulaika, not ulaika, ulaika. Please note that very important point. So this symbol on top in the script, the Madina Quran that I have, it has this symbol. Others will have other indication, but you do not read this waw. You do not prolong the sound. So ulaika, ulaika. Please note this very important point. And again, in normal standard Arabic, it could be written like you see it here. You're supposed to know this, inshallah. So please pay attention to the reading rules related to only these 2 as far as the differences in the script is concerned. So again, a reminder of the set that we need dhalika, we need tilka, and we need ulaika, ulaika. Okay, I'll go through the symbols, hand symbols later on, inshallah. But these are the 3 that you need and the 3 from the previous set. 6 words. That's all you need, inshallah, for overwhelming majority of uses in the Quran. Summary of the demonstratives used in the Quran. These 2 tables have the set that we need for our study references. That's all you will need for even advanced Arabic. So don't worry about it. But my focus is for you on the singular and the plural on both sets. And that's all we need to know, at least even to get to advanced level, because the others are very rarely used. So let's practice the TPI for remembering these ones. Inshallah, we're going to use the word Muslim. So if you're pointing to something close, you look this way straight and you point this way here as you point to something very close. So you say, هذا مسلم, هذا مسلم. And then this way you'll say, هذه مسلمة, هذه مسلمة. Then using the right hand, 4 fingers, you'll point this way and you'll say, هؤلاء مسلمون, هؤلاء مسلمون. Again, for the feminine, you'll say, هؤلاء مسلمات, هؤلاء مسلمات. So that's how you remember them. Let's do it one more time. هذا مسلم, هذه مسلمة. هؤلاء مسلمون هؤلاء مسلمات. Just the pointing word themselves. هذا هذه هؤلاء هؤلاء. Again, using both hands to remind us that it's used for both masculine and feminine. For the set that is far, so we're going to point this way, as if I'm looking this way and pointing to something far away and pointing to that and telling you. So for example, I will say, ذَلِكَ مُسْلِمٌ ذَلِكَ مُسْلِمٌ. That is a Muslim. أُولَٰئِكَ مُسْلِمُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ مُسْلِمُونَ ذَلِكَ مُسْلِمٌ أُولَٰئِكَ مسلمون ذلك مسلم أولئك مسلمون. For the feminine, you'll point again far away, looking straight, and you will point and you speak to me and you will say تلك مسلمة تلك مسلمة. Again with 4 fingers you say أولئك مسلمات تلك مسلمة أولئك مسلمات تلك مسلمة أولئك مسلمات. So again, you have your 6 words. Let's do just the words on their own, the pointing words. هذا هذه هؤلاء ذلك ذلك تلك أولئك. So again, ذلك تلك أولئك أولئك. You can use both hands again to remind you that this is for masculine and feminine, the plurals. And these are your 6 words which are most commonly used in the Quran, at least more than 1,000 times. So you really need to learn them, inshallah, using the TPI. So write them down and practice the way I have shown you. Inshallah, keep this screen in front of you if you have to. Once you've written them a couple of times, these words will become second nature. Using demonstratives in Jumlah Ismyyah. هذا مسجد. This is a mosque. Now, this should be very easy for you. We have our standard Jumlah Ismyyah. What happens here? We have a mubtada and the khabar. Mubtada, as you can see, by default definite and in rafa, and the khabar is indefinite and in the rafa status. So we've got our mubtada and the khabar coming together, forming the Jumlah Ismyyah. Mubtada plus the khabar. So we will translate this as this is a mosque. Remember, is or are is placed between the mubtada and the khabar. So that's how it's used. We've done some examples of this already right at the beginning when we introduced the Jumlah Ismyyah. Now in this lesson, inshallah, I'm briefly going to go through it with you, how the different pointing words are used. And it's again, remember the very simple demonstration here as far as the matching the number and the gender. And of course, mubtada being definite and the khabar being indefinite. And in this case, the khabar will be in the rafa status. And we will also say that the pointing word is also in the rafa. Why? Because it's in the position of mubtada. So if I wanted to say in Arabic, this is a believer. Remember the word believer means in Arabic is mu'minun. So how do I say this is a believer? I'm sure you can work this out. So let's go through the answer. Hada, and it will be mu'minun. If I want to say these two are believers, again, the dual will be hadani, and the khabar will be mu'minani. Mu'minani. Please note, I'm pointing to 2, so I've got to use the dual version of the khabar, matching the number and the gender. And then we have these are believers. I'm pointing to a group and I'm saying these are good believers. And so I will say haulai, and the khabar will be mu'minuna, mu'minuna. Now let's take a look at what happens with the feminine. Now this is a believer, female. I will say هذه مؤمنة هذه مؤمنة. If I'm pointing to 2, I will use هاتان مؤمنتان هاتان مؤمنتان. If I'm pointing to a group, I will say هؤلاء مؤمنات. You got that right, alhamdulillah. So you got now your 6 sentences, very easy. We've done exactly the same thing with huwa, huma, hum. If you remember, hiya, huma, hunna. Exactly the same thing is going with the demonstrative. I have my mubtada, which is my pointing word. And of course, the thing that I'm pointing to is indefinite. Therefore, I have a sentence. And these are all for pointing to something near. Now, pointing to something far, I will say that. We're going to use the word teacher, inshallah, which is muallim. You know that word already. To say in Arabic, that is a teacher. I'm sure you can work it out very, very easily. I will point this way and I say, ذَلِكَ muallimun. And if I wanted to say 2, those 2 are teachers, I will say ذَانِكَ muallimani. And of course, I will say أُولَئِكَ muallimuna. And again, for feminine, I will say that is a teacher. Again, in English, it's exactly the same word. In Arabic, it's two different words. So I will say tilka muallimatun. Tilka muallimatun. For the dual, I will say tanika muallimatani. Tanika muallimatani. And for the plural, ulaika muallimatun. Ulaika muallimatun. I hope you can see that. Very, very easy. Singular, dual, and plural matching mubtada and the khabar. And that's all we did. Exactly the same when we did the pronoun sentence structure. Now, what happens with broken plurals? Remember, we mentioned broken plurals before, and I said we're going to come back to it again and again. The most important thing to remember about broken plurals is that they are normally treated as singular feminine, especially all the ghayru aqil, the nouns that refer to non-human, non-angel, and non-jinn, meaning human, jinns, and angels excluded. Anything else, they're called ghayru aqil in Arabic, and they are treated always as singular feminine. So I want to say that is a mosque. So I'm sure you know the word for mosque is masjidun, but I will say in Arabic, hadha masjidun. This is a mosque. If I want to say these are mosques, now the word for mosques, I'm sure you remember, masajidu. Why jidu? Because this is a non-declining, partly declining word, and it ends with u sound. So, but the pointing word that I use is hadihi, the feminine. Even though I'm pointing to mosques, which is plural, I would say hadihi masajidu. Hadihi masajidu. Now, if I'm pointing to a school, which is feminine, singular, one school, I will say madrasatun. But the demonstrative I will use is hadihi, singular feminine. Why? Because it is. Whereas with the mosque, plural, masculine. Originally, the word mosque is masculine. It doesn't matter. It will still be treated as feminine. The word for schools in Arabic is madarisu. Again, it's similar to the masajidu word, partly declining. Again, I'll use hadihi. These are schools. So please note, broken plurals, especially all the ones which are non-aqil, of course, mosque and school don't refer to angels, humans, or jinns. They will be treated as singular feminine. So for far away, let's do those, inshallah. I want to say that is a mosque. That is a mosque in Arabic is masjidun. The pointing word, because it's masculine, it will be dhalika masjidun. But if I'm pointing to lots of mosques which are far away, again, I will use the word masajidu, but the word I use for pointing is tilka, which is feminine, singular. Tilka masajidu. Again, I want to point to a school that's far away. The word for school is madrasatun, which is feminine. In Arabic, I use the correct word here, tilka madrasatun. That is a school. If I wanted to point to lots of schools which are far away, again, I will use madarisu, which means schools, but the pointing word is tilka. I hope you get it, inshallah. Just write these examples down. It will come. This is a very strange rule, but that's the way it is in the Arabic language. So, ghayru aqil, non-rational beings, i.e. non-human, non-angels, non-jinn, these three excluded, everything their broken plural is treated in Arabic as singular feminine. One very important use of dhalik and tilka, which you'll see in the Qur'an, is that they use sometimes for emphasis. Dhalika and tilka mean that, T-H-A-T in English. But sometimes in the Qur'an, those words are translated as this, T-H-I-S. Why is that? When I'm pointing to something near, but it is of great significance, importance, to emphasize its importance, its greatness, I will use that. For example, if I point to somebody and I say, that is the student, I mean talking about somebody who's a very good student, or that is the teacher, he's a very, very good teacher. So again, I'm emphasizing, this is used quite frequently, so please take a note of the examples here. For example, I first have, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ, this is the book, or this book. Then we have, ذَلِكَ Isa ibn Maryam, this is Isa, the son of Mary. And tilka ayatullahi, again, these, not those, these are the signs of Allah, or these are the verses of Allah, whichever way you want to translate. And then we have tilka hududullahi, these, not those, these are the limits of Allah. So you can see here, dhalika and tilka being translated as this, as if it is close. The reason why, it is to signify or emphasize the greatness and the importance of the thing that is being pointed to. Please note this use, inshallah. When you see this different translation, it is because of this reason. And there are many other ways in Arabic of emphasizing. We will look at them in detail as they come along. But this is a very important one, as this is part of the demonstratives that we have to learn. Examples of the khabar being definite. When I say in Arabic, Ana talibun, I'm a student. Very simple. I have my mubtada and the khabar. Ana, of course, is definite, and we have our khabar talibun, which is indefinite. All the rules of the others are matching and so on. So we have all the rules of forming a Jumlah Ismyyah. But in Arabic, we've seen this before. Huwa hamidun. Now again, I hope you can recognize that hamid is definite. Why? Because it is a proper noun and it is in the rafa status. So here I have the mubtada, which is huwa, he. And then I have the khabar, which is actually definite. So when the pronoun is the mubtada, we can have a khabar which is definite when the khabar is a proper noun. So pronoun, remember, they can't really form much more in the sentence structures. So whenever you generally see them in the Quran, most likely it will be used there as mubtada. So mubtada, when the pronoun, the detached pronoun is there, we can have the khabar to be definite if it is a proper noun. Also in Arabic, we can say, hiya at-talibatu, hiya at-talibatu, she is the teacher. Again, that is your mubtada and the khabar. And I hope, inshallah, without any delay, you can say that this is definite. Why is it definite? Because you got al in it. So I have here now two definites coming together. Still, I have my sentence. Why? When there is a pronoun, the detached pronoun, the khabar can be definite with al. So there are two important things to note here. One, proper noun, and the other with al. When, please repeat with that you emphasize, when the mubtada is a pronoun, a detached pronoun. The khabar can also be definite when the mubtada, the subject, is a pointing word or a demonstrative noun. Take two examples here. I have hadha masjidun. This is your standard sentence structure. We have definite and we have indefinite, no problem. In the second one, however, I have definite followed by definite, but this definite is a proper noun. Since it's a proper noun, it can be the predicate or khabar when the subject is a demonstrative noun. So please note these three that I've gone through it so far. When the subject is a pronoun, you can have a proper noun as a khabar. When the subject is a pronoun, you can have a word with al, which will become your khabar, definite with al. And when the subject is a demonstrative pointing word, the predicate can be a proper noun. But if we have a word like, for example, here, hadha, we have al-masjidu. Now, this is also definite. This is also definite. But this begins with al. This is not a sentence. Please note that. So we have the demonstrative noun followed by a word with al is not a sentence. What that is your murakkab ishari, your demonstrative phrase, which we're going to study next. So again, please note, only when the subject is the demonstrative, you can have the khabar as a proper noun, but with al, it will not be a sentence, it will be a phrase. We will conclude our lesson 11, part A here. In part A, we've looked at the range of demonstratives or pointing words, especially those that are frequently used in the Quran. I've also introduced you to some of the variations of them, which are normally not really taught at an introductory level, may be covered in advanced or intermediate levels. But the reason I wanted to introduce them to you here is to let you know that these are commonly used in the Quran, and therefore we need to become familiar with them. Inshallah, in this lesson, we've had a range of the demonstratives to look through them, also how they're used within the Jumlah Ismyyah. In part B of lesson 11, we're going to look at the demonstrative phrase. This is something new to us. We haven't really studied it in detail. It's very similar to the descriptive phrase, inshallah, we'll see. We'll also see how the i'rab of them work in terms of in rafa, nasab and jar, how you recognize the different murakkab ishari that we are going to come across, i.e. the demonstrative phrases. Plus, we will look at lots of examples, inshallah. May Allah reward you and bless you for our intention for learning Arabic to understand Quran. May Allah make the task easy for us. Please do continue to give us your feedback, positive as well as recommendation for improvement, or even positive criticism is also welcomed. Anything that we can do to improve these lessons, inshallah ta'ala, we will do our level best. I hope and pray that you are finding them beneficial. Please remember us in your dua. Until the next lesson, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. الذي علم بالقلم